Stop scrolling. If you've ever wondered why God makes promises and why some of them seem so delayed, this video is for you. From Genesis all the way to Christ, God has never worked randomly. He works by covenant. Before the law, before kings, before the church, there were promises, and if you understand God's covenant pattern, you'll stop doubting His faithfulness and start trusting His process. A covenant is not a casual agreement. It's not a vibe. A covenant is a binding promise backed by God's own character. People break promises all the time. God doesn't. Numbers 23 verse 19 says God is not a man that he should lie. So when God speaks, history itself bends to make His word come to pass. From Genesis to Christ, God reveals Himself as a God who builds relationships through covenants. Each one reveals more of His plan, His heart, and His ultimate redemption story for all of humanity. Let's start with the Abrahamic covenant. This is where God chooses promise over performance. He finds a man named Abram in Genesis chapter 12, not because Abram was perfect, but because God is purposeful. God says to him, "I will make you a great nation. I will bless you, and through you all nations will be blessed." Notice something crucial here. God didn't say, "If you behave perfectly, then I will bless you." He said, "I will." This covenant was built on a promise, not a performance-based law. In Genesis 15 we see God sealing this covenant all by Himself, passing through the divided animals. This symbolized that Abram didn't earn it. God Himself guaranteed it. The lesson for us is powerful. God's promises often come before you feel ready or worthy. A delay in fulfillment does not mean denial from God. Faith is about trusting the promiser even when the fulfillment takes time. Fast forward a few hundred years, and we get to the Mosaic covenant. The Abrahamic promise has produced a nation, the Israelites. Now, God introduces a new covenant through Moses in the book of Exodus. This covenant brought the law not to save people, but to reveal God's perfect holiness and humanity's deep need for Him. The law clearly showed three things. First, God is holy. Second, sin has real consequences. And third, our obedience to God matters. The Apostle Paul later explains in Romans that the law was like a tutor. It was brilliant at exposing our sin, but it had no power to remove it. The lesson here is that rules without a real relationship with God only lead to frustration. The law showed everyone what was right, but it couldn't provide the power to actually become righteous. It was preparing the way for something far greater. Next in the pattern is the Davidic covenant. In 2 Samuel chapter 7, God makes a covenant with King David. He promises David that his throne, his royal line, will last forever. This wasn't just about David and his immediate family. This was a prophetic promise about a future king who would come from his lineage. Even when David failed spectacularly, God didn't cancel the covenant. Why? Because a covenant is anchored in God's unwavering faithfulness, not in human perfection. Our mistakes don't have the power to destroy God's ultimate purposes. Failure doesn't erase your destiny only. Unrepentance does. God was pointing forward, looking ahead to a king whose reign would have no end. Now, everything we've talked about converges in one person, Jesus Christ. This is the new covenant. The prophet Jeremiah foretold a new covenant, where God said, "I will put my law in their hearts." Hundreds of years later, Jesus arrives. He takes a cup at the Last Supper and says, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood." Think about how this connects everything. The Abrahamic covenant promised a blessing for all nations. The Mosaic covenant revealed our sin and the need for a solution. The Davidic covenant promised an eternal king. The new covenant in Jesus delivers on all of it. Jesus fulfilled Abraham's promise by becoming the blessing for all nations. He fulfilled the law's demand for perfect righteousness on our behalf. And He sits on David's eternal throne as King of Kings. Through Christ, our sins are finally forgiven. Our hearts are transformed from the inside out, and our relationship with God is fully restored. This covenant isn't sealed with the blood of animals, but with the precious blood of Christ Himself. The ultimate lesson is this: you don't live your life trying to earn God's favor. You live from a finished promise, a finished work. So here's the truth for you today. God hasn't stopped working through promises. He is a covenant-keeping God. If God made a covenant, He will keep it. If He spoke a word, He will perform it. If He promised you something, He will fulfill it in His perfect time. Your job is not to rush God. Your job is to trust Him. The same God who kept His covenant from Genesis all the way to Christ is the same God who is keeping His word over your life right now. So stop doubting God's consistency. Stop interpreting a delay as a failure on His part. God works through covenant, and a covenant backed by God never fails. If God promised it, stay faithful. If God spoke it, stay obedient, because the covenant-keeping God is still at work. Thanks for watching. If this helped you, please like and subscribe for more.